The average real estate investor isn't inflating the worth of their real estate assets.
You don't know anything about real estate, Jessica. You rent. Look at that building right there. Trump owns that building. Take a look at the entire Manhattan skyline.
Did you actually just say
Trump
that to me?
owns all of these beautiful properties. He's built these things.
Oh, he actually said that. What do you know about it? You rent. There was a discussion about Donald Trump's legal woes on Monday's edition of The Five. Jesse Waters, as usual, ran cover for Donald Trump, but this time he insulted co-host Jessica Tarlov along the way, alleging that because she's a renter, she couldn't possibly know enough about real estate to comment on Donald Trump's financial troubles and financial fraud for which he was found liable. We'll get to the Fox segment again, but just in case any of you have forgotten what is it sort of at issue here, the AP reports a judge can order the former president to fork over $355 million of his fortune plus interest, finding he lied for years about his wealth and financial statements he used to secure loans and make deals as he built the real estate empire that vaulted him to fame and the presidency. The frauds found here leap off the page and shock the conscience, Judge Arthur Engoron wrote in a 92-page decision that spares Trump's company from closure, but forces it into years of court supervision, among other sanctions. Donald Trump now, so of course, Donald Trump gets the $355 million penalty. Initially, it adds up with interest to a bond that he would have to pay of $450 million in order to appeal. That bond just got reduced, and there's a discussion about that on $175 million. But at the moment, the penalty itself, $450 million, still stands possibly at the end of this unless it gets reversed. So that's the New York civil fraud case. In addition, in New York, Donald Trump has also been charged with 34 criminal felony charges of falsifying records in the Stormy Daniels case. That is the criminal case. Waters brushed all of that under the rug into the five, calling the prosecutions against Trump a savage attack on a man because these people are mentally ill. Huh?
They're just trying to attack him any which way they can.
Donald Trump has great, I mean, he thinks it's great representation. He is being given due process. He's gotten almost all of his requests from the Supreme Court down to the state courts.
Okay.
And what you
What's
just said,
point?
Beyond the incredibly rude way that you began about the fact that I rent my apartment,
yes, Jessica.
Is basically giving him carte blanche to do everything from storing classified documents and flouting subpoenas and not returning them to fomenting an insurrection after he lost an election by millions of votes.
He's not charged with that, is he?
What I'm saying, Jessica, what I'm saying is there's no victims in any of these cases.
That's just flat wrong. And by the way, anybody who would sort of stick their hand in the neighbor's face on the set has got some serious problems, and that's a whole other issue. But aside from being entirely wrong on the facts, as Jesse Waters often is, and being wrong about Donald Trump and his crimes, Jesse Waters' elitist comment and his clear disdain for ordinary Americans should, in theory, also anger a lot of the Fox News core audience, right? Because about 30% of Americans rent. 32% of Americans rent. That's over 100 million people who rent, and a big chunk of them are Republicans. And they also care about high housing costs as well. According to a Morning Consult poll, 88% of Democrats and 75% of Republicans said it was important that the federal government address high housing costs that are contributing to inflation. So for all the Fox viewers who are out there who think that Jesse Waters is some kind of populist who cares about the economic challenges of average Americans, you should know that he is absolutely not. He is unhinged. He's clearly a sexist. He's very immature. And I don't know, I'm still surprised, Was, that the show does as well as it does. I mean, maybe this is a deliberate effort by Jesse Waters to sort of play the role of the clown, knowing that, the audience kind of likes seeing him get socked by Jessica Tarlov and kind of finds it sort of humorous that he acts so immature.
A lot of mainstream media don't give you honest news. We do. You know why? Because of you. Paid membership on YouTube makes all the difference. Hit the join button below and you become the hero that sustains us.
I believe people watch the show out of ritual. I don't know that people are getting out of that show their marching orders for how they should feel about the country's politics. It's kind of a morning zoo crew type of atmosphere up there. We often see some of the crazy sound bites that come out of that crew. But Jesse Waters, he let his fangs show. He let it slip and show how he feels about actual normal people who have to rent, who don't own vacation homes, who don't have, second and third properties where they're extracting rents and exploiting people. He showed a contempt for people who aren't part of that club and that class of Americans. So we shouldn't be surprised by the emptiest suit at Fox News, a walking, breathing haircut, that he would have these things to say about everyday, normal, working people, who have to pay rent every month, myself included. I can't afford a crib in Los Angeles, David.
Well, speaking of empty suits, I will admit that it goes both ways. As I was telling our colleagues earlier, I actually own the house that I'm in now, but that doesn't make me any more informed or any more of an expert on real estate and real estate fraud and investment. I still am lost on this stuff, and even though I have a monthly mortgage, but I mean, so the point is just absurd, and I wonder if it just sort of gets to, occasionally I could sort of see there's a sort of towel snapping kind of vibe that comes across on the Five, particularly in terms of the conservatives, Jesse Waters and Greg Gutfeld, and how they interact with Jessica Tarlov, who's clearly smarter than both of them combined, smarter than everybody combined on that show. So they kind of razz her a little bit with this sort of immature kind of thing, because that's all they can do, because they can't win on the actual arguments.
Yeah, I don't think Jesse Waters is up there to present like some nice, well-crafted opinion or argument. He's up there to be a smiling face and he obviously understands there's always a role to play when it comes to groveling and being a Trump sycophant, particularly on Trump's favorite news station. And so he's playing the game. That guy's never had an original thought in his life.
Well, and to that point, I mean, Jesse Waters has already proclaimed that he is for Donald Trump, believes Donald Trump should be elected, wants to campaign for Donald Trump, even though I suppose that it goes against Fox policy of where their anchors and hosts should be. But in any case, the other part about it is, you mentioned that he's not a very bright man. And the irony is that the person he worked for at Fox, who held that slot before him, Bill O'Reilly, for all of Bill O'Reilly's crazy conservative stuff, Bill O'Reilly was actually a very smart guy and was a very sort of logical thinker, and you might disagree with his arguments, but at least he had a compelling argument that he would put forward. Jesse Waters can't put forward any sort of compelling, rational, logical argument behind his thoughts. It's all these sort of little sort of side jokes and putting his hand up and, oh yeah, whatever, and just sort of dismissiveness, which I find very off-putting. But maybe that's the way our culture has gone, particularly among conservative media, that it's really no longer about actually having conservative intellectual ideas and arguments. Now it's just about being a jerk. It's just about following Donald Trump and insulting people, even people who are sitting right next to you.
I mean, the mainstream conservative politics these days, it's no longer like Milton Friedman and his, his economic arguments about the power and the sanctity and purity of free markets and all of that crap that they were espousing when the conservative movement first, sort of started going. Like, that's not the argument they're making anymore. It's just an argument of cruelty and anger and fear mongering. There's no basis. Like, they're not gonna get up there and be like, oh, let's talk about how every single Republican wants to strip your granny of Social Security and Medicare tomorrow if they could. They're not gonna do segments on that because nobody wants to hear that. That's their actual policy beliefs, but nobody actually wants to listen to them talk about that and, try to give logic to that argument. And so they go up there and do stuff like this.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.